As Shane said, hi, I'm Dan Kelly. I am the sales director for Causal IQ here in Mid-Atlantic. And I wanted to talk to everybody today about how your data might be losing you your election. So 10%, that's a number we all need to be aware of. More and more elections across the country are being won by a margin of victory less than 10%. For the average congressional district, it's about 71,000. For a mayoral race, that could be as low as 3,000. But in 2018, there were 40 races that were won by margins less than 0.2%. Who remembers the Florida Senate race? Rick Scott defeated Bill Nelson by 0.15%. With margins being so slim, we can no longer rely on our bases for the win. No longer can we simply look at those registered Republican or Democrat and count on a party line vote. We need to look deeper into these voters' interests. A lifelong Republican who supports the Black Lives Matter movement may no longer see Donald Trump as his choice for president. A Democrat supporting the Second Amendment might not think that Joe Biden speaks for her. Elections today are being won by the unknown voter, the persuadable voter. So is your campaign speaking to them? Here's a question for you. What data are you using for your campaign targeting? And an important follow-up question is, how are you analyzing that data? So let's start with your data sets. The majority of campaign are using one or a combination of the following data sources. The campaign CRM, which is your first-party data that you've collected, the voter file data, either from the Secretary of State of a state or purchased from a data firm, third-party segments or lists. This can be anything from purchase and household income to email or mailing lists. These are all fantastic data sets. On the surface, they will be able to provide some level of insight, but it's how you analyze and utilize that data that helps you identify that 10% you need to win the race. So the most standard process for creating a target audience begins with selecting a primary data variable and building out from that point. So for example, I may be looking for Democrats who are charitable donors. So Democrats, the assumed registered party, is my primary point. Then you're going to refine that audience by either adding or removing people from that group by using things like and or not, charitable donors. So now you're either speaking to all Democrats who are all charitable donors, or a smaller subset of both, Democrats and charitable donors. This is single dimension or boolean logic. And this has been the primary way that we've been building out target audiences for over a decade. Here's the issue with single dimension logic. It assumes everyone who matches those two data variables are exactly the same. In essence, you're creating buckets. If someone falls into that bucket, they are basically the same as everyone else in the bucket. It doesn't factor in all the other potential data points that speak to individuality. So what is the alternative? Can you just look at voters? How do you look at voters as individuals and not just buckets of voters? The answer is multivariate logic. So if you're not familiar with multivariate logic, don't worry. Unless you've worked in the data sciences or statistical analysis, you're not alone. Multivariate modeling is a statistical tool. It uses multiple variables simultaneously to forecast possible outcomes. Now, you are no longer restricted to just a single logic string or a primary data point. Now, all the data variables can be taken into account. Multivariate logic looks and grades those individual data points on their likelihood to convert. That conversion can be donate, volunteer for the campaign, vote. With the use of AI and multivariate modeling, you can now create custom algorithms depending on the outcome you're looking for. Because while one model may work great for predicting a campaign donor, it might be a slightly different model that works better for trying to identify signers of a petition. Taking it one step even further, multivariate modeling can also take into account both positive and negative data points. In traditional single dimension modeling, it's all either true or false. If you're in that target bucket, you are 100% of what we look for. If you're not, you're not. But as we've all probably experienced at one point or another, while some things look 100% perfect on the surface, there might be some points we didn't account for. That might knock them down a bit from perfect. Multivariate modeling now allows us to look at people as individuals, made up of multiple interests and multiple beliefs. The party that someone's registered for should, of course, be taken into account, but should not be that only data point to decide whether or not we promote our candidate to them. So, how can you take advantage of multivariate modeling? Well, that's where Causal IQ and campaigns by CIQ come in. So, if you're not familiar with us, Causal IQ is a programmatic solutions provider stacked with digital marketing experts that don't leave anything to chance. We create strategies that align with your campaign, with your cause, and your goals to keep influencers and voters moving towards that ballot box. For over 10 years, we've redefined digital marketing by providing strategic, client-focused solutions to some of the world's leading brands and advertisers. We lead the digital advertising industry by delivering unparalleled results across key verticals and distribution methods by ensuring the quality in everything that we do. All right, we now sound like everybody else. But what makes us stand out? Our audience identification, we can get as granular or as scalable as necessary, utilizing our first-party data and over 100 trusted data partners. More to come on that. Our expertise. We manage budgets for some of the biggest names, and we've been doing it for a long time. We know what it takes to break through that clutter and deliver powerful branded messaging. We are a full funnel advertising solution. Our full funnel strategy brings branding and direct response tactics together. With this visibility, we can actually dig deeper into the impact your messaging is having on that target voter audience. Cross-channel attribution. We offer your campaign the ability to learn from interactions with individuals across channels, promoting campaign loyalty and lifetime voter value. Superior segmentation. When we talk about messaging, we don't need to message everyone. We offer efficiency with a custom bidding model that's specifically tailored to each campaign. More on that too. Measurable solutions. We put our money where our mouth is. We work with the top third-party analytics companies to validate our performance. Custom insights and reporting. Our custom approach and our in-house DMP allows us to deliver you amazingly relevant insights to uncover those voter interests as well as those top performing positive and negative predictors. On top of all this, we do have a full service creative team because when design and data are used together, you can create unforgettable experiences. And when campaigns implement personalized and quality creative, they're going to stay more relevant and more top of mind with voters. And we offer numerous solutions from interactive video to impactful rich media. So, just like everybody else, we can pretty much display in every major channel. Display, mobile, video, social, native, OTT, CTV. And we have access to 92% of all the available ad impressions in the US. And I wouldn't worry about that last 8% because you probably don't want to be there anyway. Let's talk a little bit about data because that's where this all started. Causal IQ has 2 billion global audience profiles. And while that might sound amazingly impressive, we're more importantly looking at US-based profiles. 280 million US-based first-party audience profiles. Each profile is made up of, at minimum, 100 attributes that we can then utilize when we're looking for your best audience. We also work with all the major third-party partners out there, Blue Sky, Xlate, Oracle. But here's the important thing. We also specifically have over 152 million voter profiles, broken out by party, broken out by state. If you're looking to target a specific voter audience, we've got those profiles. Now, all of this, and we were always talking about multivariate marketing, and multivariate modeling, that's where we really start to shine. We utilize that multivariate modeling and all of these data so that we're constantly reviewing those profiles. We're analyzing those positive and negative predictors to be able to identify that best target audience, including that unknown voter, that persuadable voter. At that point, we're actually going to stack rank the audience based on their likelihood to convert. What does that look like? Well, once we've ranked the entire audience, we use that to determine how much we're going to bid on each individual. That is correct. We actually utilize a 1-to-1 bidding model for each person. If someone's the most likely to support your cause or your candidate, we're going to bid the top amount. But if someone's only 60% likely, we're only going to bid 60% for them. This 1-to-1 bidding model actually makes us much more efficient than other options because the bid is determined on their likelihood to convert. So let's take a look on how this actually worked for a campaign. So very recently, we worked with an agency and a candidate for a mayoral election here in Virginia. And the goal was, of course, promote the candidacy for mayor, to increase voter engagement and consideration, and also to drive people to register to vote by mail. Well, again, we used our data, we used the multivariate modeling and our 1-to-1 bidding structure. What were the results? Well, the candidate got 66% of all the votes, so that was a solid win. But also with our data, we were able to reach 48% of the voters were actually new to the campaign's CRM. They hadn't seen them before. On top of that, Causal IQ was able to reach roughly 16% new to file voters. These were people that didn't show up on the previous voter file. The unknown and the persuadable voter. So I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Appreciate the presentation, and we've got just about a minute and a half here. Let me throw a question at you. You talk about the voter profiles. Can you talk a little bit more about how they are built, constructed, and maintained?
Yep. So one of the things with Causal IQ, and again, building up all these individual voter profiles, we've been building GDPR and California privacy compliant profiles for over a decade. And with that, and with all the data that's come in, we have seen and received voter file data in the past. We're seeing what sites people have been reading, what causes they have been supporting. So by building all of those elements together, that's how we've been able to determine, what their voter preference has been in the past.
Trends that you've seen this cycle from, when we kind of were at the point in March or I guess in February, where we thought that this was going to be a normal election cycle, and very quickly we saw it was not going to be. What have you seen in that interim period, and what's the expectation from now through to November?
Confusion, lots and lots of confusion. Now, we are in an election cycle like nobody's ever seen before. I mean, if you think about it, when was the last time there were 20 people running for the presidency for one party? We started there. We then went into a time when people should be out. People should be knocking on doors. People should be able to ask for donations for their campaign. But we can't go out and knock on doors. Asking for donations in a time when people have been losing their jobs in amazing number, like highest number since the Great Depression. It's kind of hard to ask for that. So what's my prediction that's going to happen from now moving forward to the election? I think what's going to happen is we're going to take an entire election cycle and we're going to compress it between now and November. I think people are going to start feeling more comfortable to ask for donations. People are going to be feeling more comfortable to promote their party and their platform. So I think we're about to see a lot going on in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And Dan Kelly with Causal IQ. Best way for folks to get in touch with you if they want to get more information or a full demo here?
dkelly@causaliq.com. Hit me up on the Hoova app. I'm always there. That's actually my cell phone number. If you give me a call, fantastic. If you wake up my 17-month-old, I'll still talk to you.
All right. Dan Kelly with Causal IQ. Thanks so much for your presentation and for your time this morning.
Shane, thank you, sir.